Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. You're watching another edition of the Small Business Show, exclusively right here at ASBN.com. Many small business owners feel that legal protection is costly or intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. With the right guidance, it can actually be accessible, practical, and a powerful tool to protect and grow your business, which I will tell you right now, this is an area that you want to be taking notes on, or a segment you want to be taking notes on, because as a young entrepreneur, I didn't put that much attention to protecting myself legally, and it cost you down the road. So here to tell us more about this is Andrea Sager, who's the founder and CEO of Legalpreneur. She's also a lawyer, serial entrepreneur, and host of the Legalpreneur Podcast. So Andrea, thank you so much for taking some time with us here at the show. I love the name Legalpreneur. I think that's awesome. So tell us, how did you come up with the idea of a podcast?
Yeah, I've been around the entrepreneur industry for about 10 years now, and I wanted another way to connect with clients. I was sponsoring Podcast Movement, the conference, and I knew it was time for me to have my own podcast. So that's why we launched.
That's great. That is fantastic. Podcasts are definitely amazing, and they really help get the word out, and also to build your brand as kind of the authority in the marketplace, right? When you've got a podcast and talking about topics that you know a little something about, which is legal. So talk to us. Many small business owners are intimidated, as I mentioned. What's your advice for getting started without breaking the bank?
Well, tip number one is to tackle the legal stuff up front. If you wait until you need a lawyer, which I mean by that is you get that cease and desist letter,
do that.
The demand letter, that probably means you've waited too long.
Right.
And it's still not the end of the world, but you're going to spend way less money if you protect your business up front instead of waiting until you need a lawyer.
Right.
And the protections to set you up, honestly, they're very cost effective. It is an investment, but setting up that LLC, using those attorney drafted contracts and protecting your IP, that's going to take you a long way down the road, and it's going to save you probably 10x of what you would spend if you waited.
That's right. That's right. There's no question about it. So what are the most common legal mistakes that you see small businesses make?
Yeah, so I think there's two big ones. And number one, this is hands down, happens to every entrepreneur, no matter what stage of business, what revenue level you're at, how much experience. I've seen it happen to the world's most well-known entrepreneurs, and that's using photos that don't belong to you. Right now, we're in the age of the internet where everybody's online, and we find a great photo on Pinterest, on Google, somewhere, and we want to post it as our own. Unfortunately, that's copyright infringement.
Right. Yeah, there's no question. And it might not just be pictures. That could be extended all the way to
videos.
Yeah, videos and even written word, where you just say, hey, this would be really good on my website. And guess what? The author of that piece says, not so fast. You didn't ask for my permission on that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Copyrights are any creative work. As long as it's unique and creative, you have a copyright on it.
Right.
And you don't have to have a registration. So a lot of people think, you don't have a registration, I can use it. Copyrights, the protection is automatic, and you don't have to have the registration. So the moment you snap a photo on your iPhone, you take a quick video, you automatically own a federal copyright.
Right. However, if you've come up with the name of your small business and you think, okay, I came up with it, I created it, no one else is out there that I could see, and you put it out there in the marketplace, and you're building that brand, and 5 years goes by and somebody goes, sorry, but we started 5 years before you did with the same brand, and you're infringing on my right?
Yes, and that is trademark infringement.
Yeah.
That is actually the second biggest way entrepreneurs get in trouble.
So see that? I was right in the area.
You're right there. And what throws people off about trademark infringement, it's not just the same exact name that can be infringement. It's anything similar enough
Yeah.
to where consumers are likely to be confused. And that's where most entrepreneurs get in trouble. They're not out here trying to be malicious by using someone else's business name,
Yeah.
but it's the similarities that typically get business owners in trouble the most.
That's
and
right.
So you have to be very, very aware of, okay, maybe you find a similar business and you like their name and you want to change it up just a little. It could still be infringement.
Yes.
If the name is similar and the goods and services are similar, probably trademark infringement.
That's right. That's right. A friend of mine had a furniture company, and he focused just on bedroom suites. That's all he did, just bedroom suites. And he came up with the name, as clever as he thought he was. Bedroom Suites Are Us. And guess what? Toys R Us came knocking and said, "Not so fast. We own the R Us, okay? And
Yep.
And people are going to think that is a Toys R Us company." And he had to drop and change his name. And this was after a number of years that he was open. And somebody, I guess, sent it into Toys R Us and said, "Hey, somebody's using your R Us concept." And he had to change his whole logo, the name of his company, his branding, everything. That happens.
Yes, I see it happen every day. And unfortunately, you absolutely want to avoid that. And the only way to avoid it is to work with a trademark attorney from day one. Because when you name something, you don't want to fall in love with it and get married to the name before finding out that, hey, this could actually be infringing on someone else. So I have to deal with this every week. I get clients that come to me and say, "Hey, I'm not changing the name, let's file a trademark."
Yeah.
And I have to have that conversation and say, I know that you love this name, but unfortunately you are infringing on someone else's trademark.
Right. But wait a minute, I merged my grandfather's name with my grandmother's name. And how could there be something else out there? But it happens, folks, right? It really
happens
does.
all the time.
No question about it. Generally speaking, do business owners decide, or I should say, how do they decide what's necessary versus what's optional in terms of covering yourself legally?
Yeah, so I mentioned the big three. Your LLC, that needs to be done from day one.
Yes.
And the biggest misconception here is typically people in the accounting world will say, "Hey, don't worry about the LLC until you're making a certain dollar amount."
Yeah.
And that's actually false information. They're talking about tax savings, which very true. You really can't get those tax savings until you hit a certain threshold. But the LLC protection, that comes from day one. So an LLC is a limited liability company, and you want that protection because it protects you as an individual from the debts of your company.
Yep.
And to go further with that, even if you don't currently have debts, even if you don't currently have assets, you're protecting yourself now from anything that may happen in the future, any assets you may acquire in the future. Yep. So the LLC, hands down, must be done from day one.
Boy, that's great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Thank you.
Couldn't agree more, because that's so many people make that mistake to say, well, I'm baking cookies, out of my home, and I package them and I sell them to restaurants, and what's the big deal? I really don't have that much money coming in, maybe $20,000 or $30,000 extra per year. So what do I need an LLC for, right? In a situation like that, why go through all the hassle, right? But somebody gets sick on that cookie. Right? Or somebody chokes on that cookie, or whatever the case might be, they're coming back to you personally, folks. There's no corporate veil that's protecting you, right?
Exactly. And what if they want to share a photo, an inspiration photo they found online?
Yep.
Now it's copyright infringement.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Boy, there's no question about it. Andrea speaks the truth here, folks. This is great advice. Sit down with an attorney. If it's not Andrea, sit down with an attorney that focuses, by the way, and helps. This is a big thing. And see if you agree with me, Andrea, on this. That focuses on helping small business owners get started. And that's what I love about the fact that Legalpreneur Podcast, and she's a serial entrepreneur herself, and she's also helps other entrepreneurs. Clearly, there's a big difference there. Not all attorneys are created equal. You have some that do family law, and others that will do contract law, and others that will do corporate law, and others that will do, they'll sue somebody if they, there's a wrongful death or accident or what have you. those are not necessarily people that specialize in the area of helping entrepreneurs get started and grow their business. But somebody like Andrea that focuses on helping small business owners do this, they know the questions to ask that small business entrepreneur or entrepreneur as a founder to say, look, here's everything that you need to cover yourself with legally, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah. So, and we just kind of touched on it, but what role does planning play in preventing legal headaches before they happen? I mean, we just kind of touched on a few of them, but man, it is something that entrepreneurs need to focus on, right?
Yeah, a big part of it, especially when you're in the growing stage, that is where your intellectual property comes into play. Like, what IP have you created? So IP is patents, trademarks, and copyrights.
Right.
Patents are new inventions, and most entrepreneurs are going to be dealing with trademarks and copyrights. So it's understanding what intellectual property you have, what you've created, how can we protect it, but also how can we monetize it?
Yeah.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs forget, oh, I can license this out. I can create this whole other new revenue stream with the intellectual property I've created. So it's understanding what the business model currently is and where can it go down the road if you have IP that can be monetized in different ways.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And a lot of small business owners, when they start off, they think, well, it's just in my town, and if I could, just dominate my market right here in a 20-mile radius or what have you. But folks, you never know. I mean, I can't tell you the number of companies that have gone down the road of franchising, and guess what? They have 1,000 franchises today, or maybe even more, or maybe less. Maybe they have a few hundred, but they're scattered all over the country. Well, you can't sell a franchise or a name in another state if you don't own that particular trademark, right, on that in order to sell it. So, yeah, what might seem like a little business today could very quickly become something that's much, much bigger. So to Andrea's point, it's way easier to pay the attorney now and get it done right than it is to go back and go, you're not going to believe it, man, am I in hot water? Because then it's going to be, okay, take out your checkbook, because now we have to try to fix all of the problems that this has caused, right?
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah. But any advice to those small business owners that have started maybe during COVID and they did it as a side hustle, as we hear so much about, and now they want to now go out and really grow their business? Obviously, first stop would be to somebody, if not Andrea, somebody like Andrea, to say, look, let's do a checklist and go through it all, right?
Yeah, actually, this has been coming up quite a bit, where a lot of entrepreneurs that started during COVID, they're now, what I call it, graduating to a higher level of legal protection.
Yeah.
And a big part of it is contracts. And especially now with ChatGPT, and people are using ChatGPT to create their contracts.
Yes.
Listen, I am a huge fan of ChatGPT.
Sure.
I use it every day, but I've seen the contracts that it spits out, and it's not your friend.
Right.
So especially as a newer business owner, using contract templates is usually a great way to get started. It can save you money.
Yeah.
It does have good protection, but you want to make sure they're drafted by an attorney. You're not something that you get with ChatGPT. Also, you want to ensure that it accounts for things that you don't know you don't know.
That's right.
Which is, that's tale as old as time. But especially when you think, oh, everything's gravy right now, it's a great relationship. What about when it's not a great relationship? What about when it's going downhill? And those are all things that are accounted for in a really good, solid contract.
That's right.
And that's why you want to make sure you do have attorney drafted contracts, because we know how to think about things you don't even know you don't know.
But Andrea, I'm going to go into business with my best friend, okay? And you know where I'm going with this, right? And we're going to be 50-50 partners. And we've gotten along beautifully for 20 years, and she's my ride or die, okay, so to speak. And don't even worry about it. I mean, we get along, we'll work everything out. There's no need for any kind of management agreement or partnership agreement. Talk to me about that.
I have seen more friendships ruined than I care to count. And last week I just wrapped up a business divorce, and it was one that I told them
business divorce.
Yeah. They're never fun. They're never fun for anyone.
Nope.
But I don't care if it is your best friend of 20 years. That's all the more reason.
I don't care if it's your sister or your brother.
Yes. That's all the more reason because, when you get started, you both have the same plan. You want to make a lot of money. You want to grow. You want to scale. Yes. But when you don't have every little thing on paper, this is what happens. You both have the same general idea.
Yes.
However, your interpretation of that is very different.
Right.
And that's what we need on paper.
That's right.
And especially right now when everything's gravy, you have a level head and you can both be very calm about what happens if things start to go wrong.
That's right.
If things start to go south. And when you don't have that on paper and things start to go south, then you just want to bury the other. And that is what I see time and time again. Your best friend of 20 years, that is all the more reason to have a written agreement.
That's right.
Hands down.
That's right.
Hands down.
There's so many different things that under the best friend program that I will guarantee you get in an argument over. Better you get in the argument today than when the company's worth $20 million, right, Andrea?
100%. And also it's defining the roles.
Yes.
Because one person may want to absolutely grind it out every single day and the other person says, I'm just kind of coasting here. I just want to...
I've got 3 kids and I've got soccer practice and I've got after school and I got to take them and I pick it up and my husband and I want to take 3 weeks off and we want to go to South America for that. And you're going, just because we were best friends and we came up with the idea together on the back of an envelope somewhere, okay, doesn't necessarily mean you should be 50-50 partners. Right?
Yes. And I just had this conversation yesterday with a client who she said she's scared one day she's going to get kicked out of her company. And I said, that is why we have this operating agreement. You cannot get kicked out of the company.
That's right.
And if you don't have the operating agreement, hands down, that is why things go south because there's not a rule book. That's exactly what the operating agreement is. It's just rules to live by in the company.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, everybody's making up their own rules as they go along.
That's right. And everybody's got a different interpretation. One says, well, I came up with the idea, so therefore I'm in for 50%. That's it. Just because I came up with the real core idea. And here you go put it together, but when we sell it for $20 million, I want half. And of course, the person down in the trenches doing all of the work and the day-to-day goes, wait a minute, this is totally unfair. You came up with the idea, that's it, But we see so much of that, and we take a lot of comments and text messages and emails of people that will say, this happened to me, make sure that you talk about this on the show. So that's why I think this is so timely that you joined me on the show today to talk about this. And love to have you back because I only have about 2,800 pages and questions for you about all of these things surrounding the legalese when it comes to opening up a business. And they are so vitally important, folks. I know it's not the sexy, fun stuff, okay? But it is the stuff that you have to focus on. Otherwise, you're going to be behind the 8 ball before you ever get started. So, Andrea Sager, founder and CEO of Legalpreneur, lawyer, obviously, and a serial entrepreneur herself, so she knows what she's talking about. We're going to have a link right below the video that you're watching right now to get a hold of her if you wish to hire her. If you don't hire Andrea, hire somebody that's got her skill set because that's everything we're talking about today. You need somebody in your corner early on, not by the time the problem hits. So, Andrea, thank you so much. As I said, love to do a follow-up with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.